Hello people of YouTube, it's Deepak here, and welcome to DCS World 2.7.18 and Heat Blur Simulations F-14B Tomcat. Welcome to Tutorial 2, RIO Startup, with RIO standing for Radar Intercept Officer, otherwise known as the backseater in the F-14. While it's the pilot's responsibility to start the engines and set up his avionics, the RIO is responsible for INS alignment and most of the other avionics startup in the aircraft. I'm going to break this into two parts. It'll be the first things that the RIO would power on before the pilot starts the engines and gets bleed air running, most importantly, because bleed air is required for most of the avionics in the F-14 to avoid them overheating. And then in the second part, we'll do all the other startup that happens after the engines are running. So, let's jump into the cockpit, press number 2 to jump into the back seat, and here we are in the RIO's office. A very nice place to be. A lot of cool tech in the back here. So, there's not that much that we have to do. I'm going to center down on the left console. We're going to turn on the oxygen. We're going to put our ICS, our intercom, into hot mic. At this stage, if we're doing multiplayer and we're using SRS, we'd have the opportunity to do a quick comms check with the pilot, ensure that the pilot can hear us and that everything is normal. We're then going to look over our right shoulder and we're going to arm our ejection seat. And then we're going to go ahead and close the canopy as long as we've checked in with the pilot that that's okay to do. And at this stage, we would call to the pilot that he should go ahead and start up the aircraft. Oh, actually, I just realised that the ICS won't be working yet because we don't have ground power. So let's go ground crew, ground electric power on. It might be the case that this doesn't work now because I've closed the canopy. Yeah, I'm going to open the canopy. I'm going to ask for ground electric power. And ground air supply.
Chief, connect ground air supply. Power is now on.
There we go, instruments are coming to life. And at this stage, with power to the aircraft, we would actually be able to do our comms check with the pilot. And at this stage, we'd call to the pilot, ready for startup. The pilot's going to go ahead and start the engines. I'm going to go and do that now, and then we'll be right back after engine start. Okay, so this is post-engine start now. The pilot has done the majority of his startup tasks. As you can see, we have both engines running, we have our external lights on, and everything is looking pretty good. Wings are still overswept because we're still in the parking position. We're going to leave them like that until we get to the CAT. So, if I jump back into my RIO cockpit, we're now going to begin the work of aligning the aircraft. So, first thing I'm going to do is put my WCS switch into standby, which is the middle position. That will power on the majority of my avionics. It takes a bit of time because the CRT has to warm up and things like that. I'm going to put the IRTV system into standby as well. That's the TCS. I'll be needing that later. While I wait for it to power up, I'm going to look at my left-hand console. I'm going to put my TACAN into transmit and receive. I'm going to put my VHF into transmit and receive as well. That was the radar altimeter finishing its self-test, by the way. Recording system is already on, and the rest of this stuff on the left console is fine. There you go, you can see my my screens are now on. This repeater is showing me the pilot's navigation display. That's on because he's powered on all his equipment. Because we're on the carrier today, we're going to do an INS alignment using the data link. So, I need to bring up my knee board and flip to the page that has the frequencies for data link systems. We're on the George Washington today, so our frequency is 323.2. This is the data link tuning panel here, and this is the kind of mode panel. We're going to make sure that data link is on. We're going to tune it. Now, the 3 is etched into the panel. There's all the frequencies for data link begin 3. So we just need to enter 232 in this case. So 2, 3, 2, and then we put the mode into canes/waypoint. This allows us to make use of the INS that's built into the carrier in order to align the aircraft. Normal INS alignment is not possible on the ship because the ship is moving, and that really messes up the INS system. So if I look to my main display now, you'll see that I have a lat long appearing across the top. That's the ship's current position. Previously, I would have had to have entered that. It was blank originally. So I can now put the alignment into CVA for carrier, and this caret on the top is going to start moving. So I'm going to let that proceed just now. This is going to take approximately 9 minutes. So while this is happening, we're going to do a bunch of other stuff. It's one thing to note is that once the caret gets to about here, it will display a diamond. That's kind of like a minimum standard that you need for kind of weapons launch and things like that. But we're going to let it go all the way to the end when it's a diamond with a dot. And that's when we have completed full alignment. So while this is happening, I'm going to go down to the right console and start powering systems on. My DCM is going to go into standby. That takes a bit of time to warm up. Radar warning receiver is going to go to on. And at this point, I could turn on interior lights if I wanted them. Yeah, I'm just going to turn them all up just now, although we probably wouldn't even be able to really see them in this daylight. What else are we going to do here? I guess we're going to reset our altimeter. I didn't do this in the previous video, I forgot. So if you hold this to the right, after a while the standby flag will disappear. And we're now using the central air data computer for our altimeter. Let's reset the artificial horizon there. And I'm going to get a check over the panel. All of our weapon selectors should be in safe, which they already are. I'm normally defaulting my radar to a 2-bar scan, so I'm going to set that just now. And apart from that, we're pretty happy. I guess one other thing I could do in the meantime is I could set my TACAN. My TACAN frequency. Here we go. We want 2 X-ray. And in fact, that's already been pre-tuned for me. So that's pretty good. Let's go back to the data link frequencies, because we'll use this in just a moment. So that's basically everything done. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set my magnetic variance, but I'll wait until after we have full alignment before doing that. So, while we're waiting on that, let's simply accelerate time. That's me accelerated it quite a bit. Let's wait for this alignment to complete. Like I said, it takes around about 9 minutes, which is quite a long time. But during that time, of course, you could be coordinating with your pilot. You could be talking to other flight members. There's a bunch of other stuff you can get done while you're waiting for this to happen. Yeah, it's getting there. That's us about halfway through now. Maybe increase the time acceleration even more. This does not make for particularly riveting video content, but it should be finished fairly soon. That's us now got the diamond, so that's us kind of got minimum alignment required for weapons launch. But we're going to go for the full fine alignment. The reason for doing this is if you want to do a longer flight and you want to minimize the amount of drift. The better the alignment you start with, the less it's going to degrade over time. Although the aircraft is capable of taking fixies and updating its alignment during the course of a flight. And there we go. Diamond with a dot. We now put the nav mode into INS, and we then get normal symbology. So with that, I'm going to switch my data link so that I can use it for tactical purposes. So we're going to connect to the E3A, or AWACS, and he's on 311.3. So we're going to go 1, 1, 3, and then we're going to switch to TAC for tactical mode. We can confirm that that's working by going to ground stabilized and bumping out the range. And there we go, we can see we've got a whole load of icons coming in over the data link. These are all friendlies because they've got the circular HAFU on the bottom half. So that's looking pretty good. Now going to put the TCS into powered on. I'm going to leave the WCS in standby rather than transmit, because I don't want the radar to emit just yet. I don't know if it does when you've got weight on wheels, but just to be sure, I leave it on standby. And then last thing we're going to do, just to get absolute accuracy in our headings, is we're going to input the magnetic variance for our current location in the world. So with your cap keyboard entry system set to the nav category. We're going to choose mag variance, and you'll see that you get some numbers showing up on the top here. There's the calculated and there's the set. So it's calculating that we're at minus 7.7. Now this is basically always going to be wrong when you're on the carrier, because the carrier is a gigantic piece of metal, and so understandably it messes with your system's detection of magnetic variance. We want positive 5.2. So we're going to press heading on the keyboard, and then we're going to press the N plus E button for positive numbers, and then we're going to enter 5.2. So 5.2, and you'll see it appears at the very top of the display, positive 5.2. Enter, and you'll then see that VM is displaying 5.2 and the VC is wrong. We can now disable the selection of magnetic variance and hit clear, and the display will go back to just our own ship location information again. I'm now going to pop this around to target data, because that's the next thing that I'm likely to make use of. So, with all of that done, that is actually startup complete. I'm just going to do one last scan of the cockpit. The DECM, you'll see its power-up light is now out. We could now put that into an operating mode, but I'm not going to do that until we're airborne. Radar warning receiver is on, we heard it earlier. Repeater for the pilot is on. TACAN is programmed and showing up nicely. We're going to leave our INS waypoint destination set. Oh yeah, there we go. One warning light we have just now. AWG9 conned. That's because the liquid cooling is not on. So let's go down here. I'm going to flip the switch forwards. So we now have the cooling for the AWG9 and the Phoenix. We're actually not carrying any Phoenixes today, but still. No harm in putting it into that mode just as default. You'll then see that we no longer have the master caution and all the warning lights are out. So we could now call to the pilot that we are ready for taxi. Aircraft is good to go. So, I hope you all enjoyed that. That's the entire procedure for the radar intercept officer in the back seat. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment. It's a really big help to me and to the channel. And also, I have, as I've mentioned before, YouTube memberships available now in the form of Deep Hack's Ground Crew, if you would like to support the channel even further. Shout out to the current Deep Hack's Ground Crew members. Shout out to Channel Right, Frantic Stone, Storm Kimbari, Byron Farrow, Leo Netzel, Harish Rajan, Pink Floyd, Mangash, and GR Walker. Thank you very much, everybody, for your support, and thank you to all my subscribers. It's really, really a big help. So I guess I'll see you all next time, and in the meantime, fly safe.